So any questions we'll see in the end of the session. Let's get into the actual discussions. So in yesterday's session, we have seen how to create the value sets. We completed this task. Now we are going to see how to create the chart of account structure. Along with that, we'll see all these setups which are related to chart of accounts. To create the chart of account structure, go to our implementation project. Click on user, setup and maintenance. Go to task list. Click on manage implementation projects. Click on overview. So it will display the projects which are assigned to the current user. So open Google implementation project. So what we want to do, we want to create chart of account structure. To create the chart of account structure, you can search for the task called as chart of accounts structures. Here is the task, manage chart of account structures. Click on the task. So click on go to task icon. Click on go to task icon. And here click on search. You can notice application is general ledger, and within the general ledger application we have accounting key flex field. Okay, we have general ledger application and the key flex field name is accounting key flex field. So within this accounting key flex field, we can create the chart of accounts. Okay, we can create the chart of accounts. So to create the chart of accounts by using this accounting key flex field, click on manage structures. Click on manage structures and click on create. You don't find any sample structures in fresh instance, and we have to create everything from the scratch. Please don't access this page. It allows only one person or one user at a time to access this page to create the chart of account structure. So to create the chart of account structure, click on create. Click on create. And you can provide the structure code. So we can give the name like Google chart of accounts. Okay, Google chart of accounts structure. This is how you can give the name. But reality, we don't use the name as a chart of account structure. So where we are creating this chart of account structure within the accounting key flex field. So instead of calling it as a chart of account structure, we just provide the name as Google accounting flex field. We are creating the chart of account structure by using accounting key flex field. So you can give the name as Google accounting flex field. So this is how we provide the naming convention as a part of real-time implementation. When you are practicing, if you are going to use the name as a chart of accounts, no issues. But reality, this is how we use the naming convention of the chart of accounts, whatever we create in the system. Why we are using accounting flex field? By using accounting flex field only, we are creating the chart of accounts. That is the reason we include the same in the name. Here you can provide the name as Google accounting flex field. Structure code is Google accounting flex field. The same you can take as a name and description also. Name and description. Now, so you have these segment values. You want to create one transaction. Okay, if you take example, you have a company department account segment and you want to create the transaction. Now within the transaction, you have to capture the description. Say the transactions belongs to company 2. So instead of taking Google Cloud, simply you can take 2 dot So department is sales department. 3. And account is, okay, some revenue account. I'll take 3. Google Maps. Department is sales. And account I'm going to take revenue from ads. I'll take 5. 3.3.5. By seeing this codes, we can understand 3 means 3 is Google Maps. Other 3 is related to department, sales department. 5 is belongs to revenue from ads account. So if you are not separating these 3 and 5 with a dot, you cannot understand. You cannot understand. You could see as a only just as a one number, and you cannot understand. That is the reason. So instead of leaving that space, okay, or instead of combining these different codes, always we have to separate so that we can read and understand. So then whatever the codes we are selecting, it refers whether company or department account. We have company department account in the sequence. First one is company, second one is department, third one is account. So if you are going to separate these codes, so 3.3.5, so you can understand the first segment related to company. That means 3 means company, which you can refer with the number. So this is how you have to separate the codes what we are selecting related to your company department account. If you select multiple codes, this you can call as code combination. When you select different codes, that we are calling as code combination, when you create the code combination at the time of transaction creation, you have to separate the codes with a dot or maybe with a slash or with some other symbol. So this we call as segment separation. We are separating the segment related values with a dot or slash with any specification, so that in the system you can see as a delimiter. Delimiter is nothing but segment separator. By using the chart of accounts, when you create the transaction, when you select codes related to company, department, account, and other segments, how the codes need to be separated, that you can select here delimiter. Want to separate with star mark or hyphen, dot, or pipe symbol. Okay, you can specify. Let's select dot. And click on save. If you click on save, system will allow us to create the segments within this chart of accounts. Here you can see segment section, but this create icon is not enabled, it's grayed out. Okay, create icon is grayed out. So you have to click on save so that this create icon you could see as a enabled. Now click on create to create the segments. So we created chart of account structure name. Okay, just we give a name as Google Accounting Flexfill. So within the chart of account structure, we have to create the segments. Okay, let's see. Click on create. As we discussed, we'll create the segments in the same sequence. First segment is going to be company. Company. Just use tab from the keyboard. The segment code system will copy as API name. Okay, the segment code system is copying as a API name. What does it mean by API? API stands for Application Programming Interface. So this field can be used by technical consultants if they are going to build any integrations or any technical components, any developments, whatever they do as integrations or reports customizations and some web services. So whatever related to technical, somewhere this information is required. Instead of using segment code field or segment name field, they always use this field for technical purpose. API name, Application Programming Interface, for technical developments, they use this field. So whenever you provide the name, the same system is copying as API name. Everything it is taking lowercase. You can notice you don't change any name. Okay, you don't change the name what system is defaulting. You accept as this, and your segment code you can copy and take as a segment name. Copy and paste to name field. The same you can take as a description. As per our chart of accounts, the company is going to be the first segment. So provide sequence number as 1. Provide sequence number as 1 and provide prompt. Prompt is nothing but display name. When business users are going to record the transactions with this chart of accounts, how this segment name should be displayed. Okay, how this segment name should be displayed for business users, that you can provide as a prompt. Okay, that you can provide as a prompt. So give as this. Company segment name we want to display to business users as a company only. And short prompt. If you want to give any short name for this company, you can give, or else you can give as this. Let's say COMP. And display width. Display width means the company segment field display width. Take example, here we have display width, one field we have. How many characters you can enter in this? Display is only 7. More than 7 if you are entering, it is taking inside of the field. So this field display is supporting 7 characters. The same way for our company segment, the field size should support how many characters that you can give here. I'm giving 30 or you can say 20. Okay, the field display width I am giving 20. Here if you notice the short prompt field width, what can you guess? What could be the width for this field? Maybe 30 or 40. Display with this field is 7. The segment code is around 20-25. The sequence number is 7 or 8. So the field width that we have to set for our company segment. For company segment, once you create this chart of accounts, when you create the transactions, if you look at the segment called as company, the company should have field size with what width that we are giving as 20. And we discussed when you create the chart of accounts, max you can create 30 segments. Those 30 you can see here. Here is the field called as column name. Click on drop down. And it is by default is displaying 10. You can click on search. Click on search. You can see those 30 segments. These are the segments. The attributes is a different thing. So 30 segments are 30. 1 to 30 you can see. Now we are going to create segment 1. Select segment 1 and say OK. And what we discussed here, we create segments and we have to assign value sets to segment. Now we are creating company segment. For company segment, we have to assign company value set. Okay, we have to assign company value set. To assign the company value set, here is the field called as define value set code. Sorry, default value set code. That means we are going to assign one default value set for this company segment. Okay, so assign value set, whatever we created for company. Click on drop down. Click on search. The value set code is created as a Google company. Search. Here is the value set. Select. Say OK. So Google company value set we assign to Google company segment. Now, the other point we discussed, we have to assign segment labels to segments. Also, we discussed which segment, which label we have to assign, and we didn't discuss what purpose we have to assign. We'll discuss the purpose very soon. So the point you can notice, for which segment, which label we have to assign. For company segment, we have to assign primary balance and segment label. Okay, we'll go and assign that. Here you can see segment labels. Here you can see the segment labels. We are creating company segment. For company segment, we have to assign primary balance and segment labels. Scroll little down. Here you can see the label called as primary balance and segment. You can just select and you can click here, or else you can double click, you would get selected. You double click on segment label, that system is selecting into selected labels list. So this is how we have to assign value set as well as labels to segment. Company segment, we assigned company value set. For company segment, we assign primary balancing segment. Okay, primary balancing segment. So this is how we have to create segment within the chart of accounts. Any questions to understand or any clarification required on this, please?
Sir, you are saying that we can create only 4 to 6 or 7 segments, but you are taking display with 70 and you can here company name segment 1, segment that until 30 it is showing.
I didn't say that. Okay, what we discussed in the last session is
here you can see.
One second.
Yeah.
Allows max 30. Reality, when you do the implementation, this is how clients uses. Okay, so you can see the real implementation, maybe they are using 6 segments or 7 or 8 only, because 30 we have, nobody is using 30 or 20 or 15 also. The other point what we discussed is here display width I am talking about. Okay, I just clearly explained. Still, if you don't understand, I'll explain once again. So this field, you see this field, right?
Yes, sir.
How many characters you can enter in this field?
Earlier you entered 7, sir.
7. You are going to create the segment called as company. A company, how many character space you require? I'm entering 20. This 20 is not related to segments. Field size, field width, display width. Okay. So that means this much it will display. Okay, it will display like this. Company. The field size would be this much. If you need 30 characters, this much field it will display. Got it?
Yes, sir. It's only for display width.
Display width to enter the names in the company field. Okay, I'm talking about the number of segments. Number of segments we are very clear, we discussed.
If we are given a 30 letters name, but the display width we choose for 5, it only show 5 digits.
5 only, yes, exactly. The field size we are talking about. What we discussed 30, that is related to number of segments you can create. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Fine. So this is how we have to create the segment. Let's create other segments also. Click on save and close. The next segment is department segment. Click on create. The segment code is department. And just use tab, the same name system will copy to API name. You don't need to do any changes to API name, accept as it is. You can copy the segment code, take the segment code as a segment name and description, and sequence number. It is going to be second segment. Please make sure that you are not entering the sequence number with some gaps. There should not be any gap. Say by mistake you entered 1, 2, 3 and you forgot to take 4 and you entered 5. System won't allow us to use that chart of accounts to create the transaction. There should not be any gap in the sequence. Okay. So the first one we created, we given 1, and this is the second one. So we are giving sequence number as a 2. Don't give any sequence like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. You should not give with such kind of frequency. So there should not be any gap when you give the segment sequence numbers. So prompt is nothing but display name. How you want to display this segment for business users when they record the transactions as it is, as a department only. You can provide the short name, DEPT, display width. What should be, what size you want to give for this field for displaying the text, what you are going to enter. Okay. So for this, I'm giving 20 characters display. I'm giving for department segment. So for company also we given same, and select column as a segment 2. Okay. We used already one segment 1, that again you cannot reuse it. Okay. So one column name you can use for only one segment. Segment 2 we are using. So assign department value set to department segment. Click on drop down. Click on search. The value set code is given as a Google department. Search, select, and say OK. And we discussed for a department, we have to assign cost center segment label. What is the purpose and all we will discuss. As of now, just assign cost center segment label to department. Here is a cost center segment label. You can select and say move, or else double click, system will select into selected labels. Okay, cost center segment label we are assigning to department segment. Say save and close. We'll discuss all this. Now we can discuss, but we cannot understand as we require. Okay.
Sir, in the real time also we give
Understand.
the segment company, API name and name, everything will be the same, sir. I mean, we are giving department, and the same thing in the every column.
Same. Because the fields all related to same segment, we provide the same. Yeah. This is our
So this label is mandatory to assign. I mean, you said it is optional, I guess.
Yeah, we discussed these two are mandatory, right?
Yes. Yes.
It is optional, conditionally optional. Okay.
Okay.
So we are assigning so that we'll understand what is the purpose.
Okay, sir.
So system is not going to check whether we assign cost center segment label to department or not, but system will verify the primary balance and segment label or the natural account segment labels are assigned or not, since those two are mandatory. But as per our business, the cost center segment label also required. In which business scenarios that is required, we'll see that. We'll discuss. Yeah.
Okay.
So even it is not mandatory, mostly we use this. Why we use, we will discuss. Right. We created company and department. We'll go and create account segment. Click on create. Segment code is account. Copy the code and take as a name and description. Sequence number is 3. Creating third segment. Prompt is same. Short prompt you can give as a short name. Display width say 20, or you can give 30. 30 means it will open the big field, I mean more width. Okay. The column name is, you can select segment 3. It is displaying 2, but if you select it won't allow. You select and save it, it will give the message already it is used, you cannot use this again. Select 3 only. Even it is displaying, select 3 only. So when you save this, system will throw error message if you are selecting the same multiple times. So assign value set to account segment. So value set name is Google account value set. search, select and say okay. For account segment, we have to assign natural account segment label. Okay, we have to assign natural account segment label. Here you can find natural account segment label. Double click and it's assigned to account segment and says save and close. What is the next segment? Intercompany. Click on create. Segment name is intercompany. Copy the same. Take as a name and do description. Sequence number is it's a fourth segment. Prompt display name is same. So short name and provide display width 20 characters. Display width we required. This is going to be fourth segment. Assign intercompany value set to intercompany segment. Select Google Intercompany. Say okay. For intercompany, you can assign intercompany segment label. Assign intercompany segment label. Double click and assign. Okay. So again, just we'll talk about it. So again, like whether you want to have intercompany segment or not. So without intercompany segment, also you'll be able to track the intercompany transaction, but in the reporting you cannot do very detailed level. Those all points are involved. Just if you are using intercompany segment to track the transactions related to intercompany, to facilitate that, we have to assign the intercompany segment label. We'll discuss when we talk about the relevant points. We'll touch base. So for intercompany segment, we are assigning intercompany segment label. That also you can make a note. This is also not very much mandatory. Very mandatory are two: primary balance and segment label, natural account segment label, or department cost center for intercompany segment label. In which context we have to assign, we will discuss. Just make a note. Okay. So for intercompany segment, we assigned intercompany segment label. Say save and close. And create segment called as project. Click on create. Segment code is project. And take the name description as this, and this is going to be fifth segment. The prompt, short prompt, and you can give the display width. We are giving 20 for all the segments. You can give different display width also. Okay, so we are giving same for all. So column name. So segment 5. Already we created 4. This is going to be fifth segment. Assign value set to this segment. Okay. So Google project value set. Google project. Say okay. And you don't need to assign any label to this. Say save and close. And we have to create 2 more segments as a future 1 and future 2. Use segment code as future 1. Use tab, it will default the same as a API name. Take the same as a name and description. Sequence number is 6. Prompt is same. Short prompt is future 1. Display width is 20 characters. Column name segment 6, assign value set to segment. We give a name as a Google Future 1. So no labels required, say save and close. One more segment we have to create. You can give as Future 2.
I had a question.
Please.
Yeah, so can these segment codes, the names be changed later, especially for the future 1 and future 2?
Code you cannot change. Name, description, prompt, is short prompt, these can be changed.
Okay.
Code you cannot change.
Okay, thank you.
You save it, the system will freeze.
Okay.
So short prompt. Display with this 20, column name, segment 7, and default value set code. You can assign what are the value set we created for future.
Sir,
No label. Please.
sir, value set code, we have to give company name in front of this.
Sorry.
In
For-
value set code, we have to give company name, sir.
For company segment, company value set, department segment, department value set, for account, account, for which segment you are creating, that value set you have to assign.
Okay, sir. For every value set code, we have to give company name.
You are not understanding.
Sir, there we have a field like default value set in the. So you are entering Google Future 2, right, sir? So there
Yes.
they are mentioning company name as Google. In the real
One second, one second. So for every value set name, we included name called as Google. That's what. So
Okay, okay, sir.
you look at future 1, future 2, a company or what. Okay. This is for identification purpose. We given prefix as a Google.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So we create
Okay.
value sets with what names? Google company, Google department, Google account, right?
Oh, sir.
Yeah. That's what we have to understand. We are not giving the company name. Okay. With the
Okay,
company name value set and all. Okay. This is the organization name where you can identify the value sets are belongs to which company, which organization. For that purpose, so as a prefix we give it. In fact, we created an accounting calendar. There also we given organization name as Google.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
For each segment, we have to assign respective value sets. For company, company, department, department, account, account, and rest. Done. Say save and close. Please notice one point. When you create the segments, for segments don't include any organization name. We given segments as a company, department, account. Don't create these as a Google company, Google department, Google account. That name you can include for a department value sets, but not for segments. I'm selecting company. I'll click on edit. Now see, the segment code you cannot change. Okay. API name also you can change, but it is not recommended. You do changes, what are the developments are done by technical team, those all will break. Okay, so you should not touch this field. So you can change the name, display name, description, prompt. Is any fields you can change, you have that flexibility. Okay. So but it's not recommended. Okay, how we required, we create, we keep as it is. Done. So this is how we have to create chart of account structure. What we did, we created value sets, we created chart of account structure. Within the chart of account structure, we created segments. We assigned value sets to segments. Okay, we assigned value sets to segments, and we assigned segment labels to segments. These are the labels we assigned to these segments. Now we have to create chart of account structure instance. As per our applications, we cannot use chart of account structure to record the transactions directly. We have to copy the chart of account structure. Once we copy the chart of account structure, that we call as chart of account structure instance. Instance you can use to record the transaction. That means the chart of account structure what we are creating, that acts as a template. Chart of account structure acts as a template. So by using the chart of account structure, you can make multiple copies also. We don't need to create multiple copies. We ideally create one copy that we are calling a chart of account structure instance. So instance is the one which we will use at the time of creating the transactions. What does it mean by instance? Copy of chart of account structure. Okay, copy of chart of account structure we are calling as chart of account structure instance. So let's see how to create. If anything we have to understand, we'll discuss. So create chart of account structure instance. We created chart of account structure. This is the name we given. These are the segments. And click on save and close. And again, click on done. By clicking on manage structures, we create a chart of account structure. To create instance, select this tab. Manage structure instances. Click on manage structure instances and click on create. Okay, just click on create. Here you can provide chart of account structure instance code. What name we given for structure? Chart of account, Google accounting flex fill. Okay, our chart of account structure name is Google accounting flex fill. And now we'll give the name for instance as a Google accounting flex. Reality, we give the name as this. Okay, whatever the name you are giving for structure, the same name you can give for instance also. But here we are learning for our understanding purpose. I am giving the Google accounting flex so that you can understand going forward which one we are going to use. If you are giving the same name for both, we cannot have any clarity to understand which one we are using. That is the reason just I am making some difference in the name. I am giving instance name as a Google accounting flex. Okay, so that after creating this instance, when we do further setups, which one system is displaying, which one system is not going to display, that we can understand. So let's create chart of account structure instance with this name. You can give the name as Google accounting flex. The structure instance code we are giving as Google accounting flex. And use tab, the same name it will copy as the API name. We discussed for segment level. So we discussed that is for technical purposes. Here also same point is applicable. Okay, API, application programming interfaces. For any customizations, if technical team is going to use this chart of account structure instance, so this is the name they refer. Okay, this API name only they use for mapping purposes. You can copy this structure instance code and take as a name and description. Description field is optional. Still, if you want to provide, you can provide. Now, we are going to create chart of account structure instance based on which chart of account structure. Copy of structure we are calling as instance. Now we are going to copy which chart of account structure that we have to select here. You see the field called as structure name. So select whatever we created. We created as a Google. So this is the one. Google accounting flex field. This is the chart of account structure we created, selected. Once you select within that chart of account structure, what are the segments we have, all are copying into this instance. The moment you select chart of account structure, all the segments what we have inside of this chart of account structure, you can notice all are copied here. Now what we have to do is, we have to select all these segments as required into this chart of account structure instance. You have to select all. Okay, you have to select all. If you leave any segment without selecting as required, it doesn't work. So since you created chart of accounts, what are the segments you required? If you want to use, you cannot use directly with the concept called a chart of account structure instance only you can use. So that is the reason you are copying the chart of account structure and you are creating instance. You have to select all these segments as required. You can see here, there is one column called as required. Okay, all the segments we have to mark as required. Okay, how to select it? So select company segment, click on edit, enable required, and say OK. So this is how all segments we have to select as required. Select department, just click on edit, enable required, account, edit, just mark it as required. Okay. Same you can repeat for all those segments. You have to select all as required. Okay, all segments you have to select as required. If you don't select few segments, it will not work. So this is how we have to create chart of account structure instance. Why we are creating chart of account structure instance? We cannot use chart of account structure. That is the reason we are creating. And why Oracle made this as a mandatory? Because we discussed as a part of Oracle Fusion solution, Oracle is using different legacy products. Okay, different legacies of the products. That means they are using PeopleSoft, they are using CBL, they are using Hyperion, they are using Primavera, different products they are using. And this chart of account structure instance concept can be shared across with the different environments, different applications. This can be in the full sync with the chart of account structure. So instead of allowing this chart of account structure to different environment, different products of applications, they are creating the copy, but this is mapped with the chart of account structure only. And if you take example Hyperion reporting and all, the Hyperion reporting, so we need chart, we cannot use the chart of account structure directly. We have to use the copy of your chart of account structure, that is instance, and they have certain limitations in other applications also to use the chart of account structure. That is the reason they introduced the concept called a chart of account structure instance, so that it will have a great flexibility to use in the different applications as per that application. The capabilities are, I mean, the data synchronization capabilities and all. So that is the reason they introduce. Functionality wise, there is no great benefit for us. If you create the chart of account, that is enough to use to record the transactions, to capture the detailed information. Okay, chart of account is not going to give value addition, but it is mandatory we have to create by considering the different products what Oracle is going to use as a part of Fusion, and to support and to synchronize the data requirements across all the applications. They introduce the concept called as chart of account structure instance. Okay, so this is a point we have to understand when we talk about the instance purpose. Within the finance or within the SCM, take any applications, we can use only chart of account structure instance. Chart of account structure we cannot use in any application. Okay, only instance we can use. This is a point we have to notice. Okay, we just created chart of account structure instance. Now you can click on save and close. Click on done. So we completed instance creation also. Where we created chart of account structure and instance. The chart of account structure and instance we created within the accounting flex field. Within the accounting flex field, we created structure and instance. Now we have to submit this accounting flex field for validation purpose. The validation process we are calling as a deployment. When you submit this accounting flex field for deployment, what are the chart of accounts are available within this accounting flex field, system will submit all the chart of accounts for validation. All the chart of accounts for validation. So here we'll go and see how many chart of accounts we have in this accounting flex field. Go to manage structures. We created only one. Since it's a practice instance, you can see many. Click on search. There are many chart of accounts. Many chart of accounts we have. So when we do the implementation, you don't see any chart of accounts. So just ideally we create one chart of account that you can use for one country or multiple countries also. So this all chart of account system is going to validate when you submit for a deployment. Now, when you submit this accounting flex field for a deployment, it will verify all the chart of accounts. What it will verify? In all the chart of accounts, primary balance and segment label is assigned or not. Natural account segment label is assigned or not. This is what system will verify. And the other point is, it will verify the labels are assigned to only one segment or more than one segment. We should assign the label to only one segment. You should not assign same label to more than one segment. Say primary balance and segment label we assign to company. Again, you should not assign this primary balance and segment label to another segment. Okay, what system is going to validate? The first point is the primary balance and segment label and natural account segment label. These two are mandatory in every chart of accounts. You should assign those two. If you don't assign, when you submit your chart of accounts for validation, it will identify that as an error. Second point, the label, whatever the label, it can be primary balance and segment label or cost center, natural account or intercompany segment. It could be any label. The one label you should assign to only one segment. Okay, if you assign same label to more than one segment, that also system will identify as error. So this is what system is going to check now all the chart of accounts. So we created chart of account just now. The chart of account, whatever we created, everything is fine. We followed what we should follow. So primary balance and segment label, natural account segment label, since these two are mandatory, we assign to company and account. And we never assign any label to more than one segment. Now our chart of account is fine. But within this instance, we have many chart of accounts. Just now we have seen. When you submit this accounting flex field for a deployment, it will start validating each and every chart of accounts also. We'll see, we'll discuss those points. Let's submit this accounting flex field for a deployment. Here is the tab called as deploy flex field. You can see deployment status as edited. We create a new chart of account structure and instance. That is the reason system is identifying this accounting flex field is edited. That means within this accounting flex field, some changes are done. The changes could be the creating the chart of account structure or instance or anything. Okay, so you click on deploy flex field. Earlier we discussed one point. This phase can be, system will allow only one user to access. If any other user is trying to perform, it will allow to access, but it won't allow you to save. See, now I'm in this manage chart of account structure page. I'm clicking on create. Even you can access this page, you can click on create, but it will allow only one user to save it. That means for one user, it will log, and other user, it won't allow to perform anything. The same way, if you click on deploy flex field, if any other user is working on this chart of accounts creation process, creating the structure, creating segments, or creating chart of account structure instance, or already some other user submitted this chart of accounting flex field for deployment, all these cases, system will give the error message saying already other user is holding the lock. You have to understand these points. Okay. When it is not allowing, you have to wait for some time. But when it comes to reality, you never face these issues. Since these are the practice instances, you may just come across with these issues when other users are working on the same instance, when others are practicing. This issue with only chart of accounts, all other setups at a time, multiple users can perform. Okay. So your accounting calendar or any other setups at a time, multiple people can perform. Only for chart of accounts, this rule is applicable. Now just click on deploy flex field. Just click on deploy flex field. Same time, if any other user is accessing this page, or say others are submitted the chart of accounts for a deployment, or others are creating the chart of account structural instance, here you will get error message. Okay, saying that so other user is holding the lock. Okay, try after some time. So that's how you will get error message. Now what system will do is it will verify in any one of the chart of account. If anything is wrong, it will verify, and if everything is fine, it will allow. Okay, so now it is just verifying all the chart of accounts, whatever we have in this accounting flex field. So here we have many chart of accounts. It takes some time to complete all. When we are working for real implementation, the moment you submit will be completed without taking time, because you are going to have mostly one chart of accounts. So it won't take much time to complete the validation. Okay. So remember, if other users are created chart of accounts, and if something wrong with the chart of accounts, this deployment process will end with error. Those errors and all it will display here. How many errors it will display? Here it is as of now showing 0 errors. And if it displays any error, what you have to do is you have to click on expand. Here it will display in which chart of account, what is the issue it will address. Clearly it will give the message in so and so chart of accounts, the primary balance and segment label is missing, or natural account segment label is missing, or it says in so and so chart of account, so and so label is assigned multiple times, but one label can be assigned only one time. Okay, for any segment. That's how you get the message. You can see that message again. You can go back to your accounting flex field and find out that chart of accounts where system is addressing there is some issue and correct it, and again you have to submit. Why we have to submit? Because we are submitting the accounting flex field for a deployment since we created our chart of account. Somebody created chart of account with the wrong data, but to deploy our chart of account, we have to correct those chart of accounts also. Okay, you may create chart of accounts by following the rules like the primary balance and segment label and natural account segment labels are assigned, and those labels are assigned to only those, or any other labels are assigned to only single segment. So you created by following all the rules and conditions, but somebody created chart of accounts without assigning any label. When you submit accounting flex field for a deployment, that message also you will get, and you have to correct. Then only your chart of accounts also can be deployed. The reason is here we don't have option of submitting our chart of accounts for a deployment. We are submitting all the chart of accounts for a deployment. That means we are submitting the deployment at accounting flex field level. Within the accounting flex field only you can see all the chart of account structures. That is the reason. If anything wrong with any other chart of accounts, we have to correct, then only you can proceed to complete this deployment activity. So this is what we have to understand. Any questions on this point, please? It will take few more minutes. Let's wait. Yeah, please. This is your question.
Deploying in the sense where the system will deploy the data, sir. I mean,
It's not going to deploy somewhere else. Deployment means it is going to validate, it is going to compile, it is going to verify. Where we have data, the data is stored in the database tables, right?
Okay. Yeah.
The data is, the records are available in the database tables. The data which is available in the database tables, that records it is going to validate. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Hello. Yeah, good morning, sir. Actually, one doubt. In our EBS, we have a flexibility, right, cross validation and allow dynamic insert. Is there provision? Is there in the same form or in different
Yeah,
form?
we
Can you
have.
enable that one?
We have same concept.
Acha.
In EBS, at chart of account structure level, we have to enable a cross
Yes.
segment checkbox.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
The chart of accounts should be available in the cross validation rules creation page. Otherwise, it won't be available.
Yes. Yes.
In Fusion, you no need to enable the chart of account structure instance would be available directly in the chart of account creation page. That's how they give it.
Oh, okay. 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 Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Right. Now we can see the status as a deployed. Deployment completed successfully. Okay. Here you can notice no errors and no warnings. If you find any warnings, no issues at all. If any issue, if any error, system will not allow us to complete the deployment. Even there are warnings, the deployment process, still system will allow the deployment process. So say okay. Now you can see deployment status is deployed. This is what we need. Now we created our chart of account structure and instance we submitted for deployment. After some time, somebody may create the chart of account structure. We don't need to worry about it. Something may be wrong with those chart of account structures. We don't need to worry about it. You have to deploy only one time. We do some changes, we have to deploy again. But once you create the chart of account structure, you have to deploy. That would be enough. If any new chart of accounts are created, we don't need to worry about it. For our understanding purpose, we'll go and do some changes to any one of the structure related to labels. How it will detect the issue, we will understand. Go to manage structures, click on search, select any one of the chart of accounts. Somebody created as a something like not valid names. Okay. Somebody created some ALF or something. As chart of accounts, click on edit. Okay. They created almost same segments. Maybe somebody is practicing. So I'm selecting company segment. Click on edit. For company segment, it's a mandatory we have to assign primary balance on segment label. Okay. That's a mandatory, but I'm removing. Say save and close. Say save and close. Click on done. Now submit for a deployment. It will identify the issue and it will give the message in which chart of accounts we have issue. See here, one error. Identified one error. One error, 0 warnings. Error and deployment. Expand it, you can read that message. The message you can see, you must assign required label called as GL balancing. So whatever we are calling as primary balancing segment label, system is displaying as GL balancing. GL balancing is equal to primary balancing segment label. You have a term called as balancing. That's what you have to understand. Okay, as per system, that label code is GL balancing. So you must assign, okay, you must assign a required label called as GL balancing to at least one segment. Which segment ideally we have to assign to company. So the structure name is ALF. Okay, same, you need to assign required segment label called GL balance, means primary balance segment label to at least one segment. That segment is company. So this is a message. By seeing this message, you can go to that structure and you have to correct it. Somebody created as a ALF. Click on edit and you should assign. Otherwise, you cannot complete the deployment. I will remove label to account segment. Remove. So save and close. Click on deploy flex field. It's identifying the issue. What is the issue? You must assign a required label called as GL account. Our primary balancing segment label name is GL balancing. Natural account segment label name is GL account. GL account means we have to understand natural account segment label to at least one segment. That is account segment. So where we have that issue here, they are giving the name clearly. Structure name is ALF. The structure name is ALF. Okay, the same, they are repeating the same message. You need to assign required segment label GL account. GL account segment label means natural account segment label. Here they are giving as a code with a detailed name, you can see from front end. So now we have to assign. So this is how the deployment process can identify if anything wrong with any chart of account structure. Say for example, I'm going to assign the primary balancing segment label again to this account segment also. We should not do. It will identify that issue. Deploy flex field. Okay, here you can notice, scroll till down. You can assign a unique segment label called as GL balancing to only one segment. GL balance means primary balancing segment label. Okay, to only one segment. So in which chart of accounts we have that issue, structure name is ALF. Saying the GL balancing means the primary balancing segment label you can assign to only one segment. It is saying that issue violation we have in the ALF structure. So this is how system can display the error message. Accordingly, you have to go and correct. Only the point here is you have to read that message. You have to read and you have to understand what it is saying so that you will be able to perform the deployment. So this is all about.
We have created the structure. Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
So we have created the one structure Google accounting text field, right, sir? Why the system is taking all while deploying the flex field? Why all the structures is considering?
We are running the deployment accounting flex field level. That's how Oracle given. If Oracle is going to give this as a structure level, it won't worry about other structures. Do you know EBS?
No, sir.
Yeah, in EBS we have as this. We have to run this deployment structure wise only, but in the Fusion they changed.
Okay.
Yeah. So they are not giving the option to select our chart of account structure to submit for a deployment. The only option is We are running the deployment accounting flex field. Accounting flex field means inside how many structures are there, all it will be submitted for deployment. Why Oracle is giving like this? If you have some structure account within the accounting flex field, if you are not going to, if it is not proper definition, no use of it. If it is no use of it, you never create it. You created something means that should be validated with that idea, like they are giving the option at accounting flex field level, so that anything you create that should be validated. So all you have to make sure that deployed and validated.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in real time, we can only create one structure only for one company.
Yeah, not company, country wise ideally. Okay, you may have multiple company also. You may run the business in 100 countries. You can use only one chart of account.
Okay.
One chart of account would be enough. If you are using one chart of account for more than one country, that we call as global chart of account. Since we are using in many countries, that we call as global chart of account, or else you can create separate chart of accounts for each country also, but that is not recommended. As a best practice, we create one chart of account, okay, as per global business reporting requirements, and that we can use in the multiple countries transaction creation process.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, this is all about chart of accounts creation. Any questions from anyone, please? Done with the deployment. We'll go and create the values. Before we proceed, any questions from anyone, please? Chart of accounts ready with instance also. Just we have to create the values in each value set. Value sets are already assigned to segments. If you create the values in the value sets, those you can find under segments. No questions. I will see how to create the values value sets. Please.
Sir, here no issue with the currency related issue in chart of account.
Sorry.
And EVS in currency every chart in EVS every chart of account using currency, but here it's not required for that.
US chart of account doesn't use currency. Chart of account we are using for a description purpose. In every transaction we use currency. We'll see that.
Okay, sir. Okay.
The next step. Okay.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, we discussed three as a
Got it, sir.
right? Calendar, description, currency. These are three parts. We are dealing with the chart of accounts. We'll come to know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it. Got it.
Yeah. Fine. Now create segment values in the value sets. Go to our implementation project. Here is the task called as manage chart of accounts value sets. Okay, manage chart of accounts value sets. Click on go to task icon. Click on go to task icon. So find out value set what we created. So we want to enter the values for company segment. For company segment, if you want to enter values directly, you cannot enter. With the help of company value set, you can provide. So find value set called as Google company. Click on search. Okay. Here is the value set. Click on manage values to create the values for this value set. Click on search. We don't find any values. Okay. We didn't create any values. So what we discussed, we have to create the values in value sets and we have to assign value attributes to segment values. Okay. What are the values we are creating? We have to assign value attributes. Let's see how to create values, how to assign the value attributes. So click on create. In the value field, we have to enter the code. For company, what is the length we given?
20.
No. Or say width. Value set level. Value set level, we given 4 maximum length. Right? Company value set, we given maximum length as a 4. That means the company code you can create in 4 digits only. Description, you can write the long name, no issues. Click on manage values. So we are in the company value set. Click on create. With the value code here, we have to provide the code. Max, it allows 4 digits. I'm giving 1000. Let's create few companies as we discussed. Say Google Ads Services. Okay, Google Ads Services. And here you can notice the checkbox called as enabled. By default, system is enabling the checkbox. Whenever you create any values in this value set is enabling, and start date and end date. This value you have to keep available for what period. Okay, if you give end date, so and so date, after the date, this company won't be displayed for business users to record the transactions. And summary, you can see system is taking as no. What does it mean by summary? Summary means parent. If this company is going to parent company, if you don't want to record the transactions, you have to set summary as a yes. We'll see how to create the parent and child companies and the departments accounts also. So maybe after a few classes, there is a separate concept there we will discuss. As of now, here try to understand the meaning of these fields. If I set summary as yes, system will understand this as a parent company. Parent company means ideally used for reporting purpose. With this, system won't allow us to create the transactions. So we want to create the transactions with Google Ad Services. So summary, whatever system is selecting as no, you can accept. And allow posting. So with this company, we are going to create the transactions, and the transactions you want to process so that that information would be available for reporting purpose. So most of the transactions, most of the values what we create for transaction creation and reporting purposes only. So system is taking allow posting as yes. Allow posting yes means you can create the transactions and you can process it. Processing is nothing but posting, updating the balances in our system. So allow posting is system is taking as yes, you accept it. Allow budgeting. With this company, if you want to create the budget, this value should be set to yes. If you set allow budgeting as no, for this company, if you want to create the budget saying that for Google Ad Services in this month, so-and-so expense limit is so-and-so. If you want to set this kind of rule, it is not applicable. That is possible through budget. So if you want to create the budget with this company, you have to give the permission as yes. So by default, system is taking summary as a no, allow posting as yes, allow budgeting as yes, that you can accept as this. That's how really we need. So this summary, allow posting, allow budgeting, these three we call as value attributes. These three we call as value attributes. Assign value attributes to segment values. We no need to assign. System can assign those value attributes. If you want to change, you can change. Okay. So we need as this, you can accept it. Let's create a few more companies. It allows max 4 digits only. I'll try with the 5 digits. The next companies, say Google Cloud Services. And allow budgeting, allow posting is yes, summary is no only. Click on add. Now it is not allowing to create one more record, or if you try to save, it won't allow. You're saying the value 20000 is too long. The value set called as Google company, the length of the value cannot exceed 4 characters. within the Google company value set definition, we given maximum length as 4 digits. So you can enter value to max 4 or less than 4. So make it 4 digits only. The description you can give the long description, no issues. The length what we given that is applicable for the value field. Click on add. Next one is maps. Say 3000. Google Map Services. So accept these value attributes. Okay. The older releases, now this is a release 13, which is latest. In the older releases, so they used to give title here as a value attributes. Later they removed, and we have to understand those we have to call as value attributes. Now you can click on save and close. How to create the parent company, etc. We'll see later. We have a separate concept called as rapid implementation. There it's very easy for us to create, we'll create. Here, if you want to make any company as a parent, you can set as a yes. In case of parent, you don't create transaction. That means you don't need to process the transactions. You can set to no. And budgeting you may not create, you can set to no. Everything you can set to. These two you can set to no, this you can set to yes. Okay. So that with this, you cannot create any transactions, and no transactions can be processed, no posting, no budgeting, and you may use for reporting purpose. Keep as this what system is taking, so that these values would be available for transaction creation. So we created values for company value set. Click on save and close. At any point of time, okay, at any point of time, you can create values in this value set. Okay, so at any point of time, you can create the values in the value set. Just click on manage values, click on search, click on add, and you can create the values. Right?
Sir, you were saying if we take the primary company as S, I mean summary as S, we can't create any transaction.
Correct. System will understand that company value as a parent.
If any transaction say as made under company name, then what should we do?
That is the reason don't select as a yes. If you have a requirement of recording the transactions with any company, you have to keep that as a known.
We can change it later, sir. If we said yes, then we can make it change it to no later.
Yes, you can change anytime. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, please. Any question?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Fine. Okay. Say save and close. So this is how you can create values in the value sets. So we created values in the company value set. We'll create values in the department value set. So Google department, click on search, click on manage values, click on create. For department also we given maximum length as a 4. With the 4 digits you can enter the department codes. Any code you can enter. Here just I'm taking 1000, 2000, 3000. So finance department. The value attributes we can accept as this. 2000 HR, 3000. So sales, 4000. Marketing. You can create how many departments you could see for reality. The complete information client will provide. How many departments they have, they provide the complete data in the spreadsheet. By referring the data we have to create. We are trying to understand how to create everything through manual process. Once we are comfortable with this manual process, we'll see how we can load the same data by using the spreadsheets also. Okay. So this is how we have to create the departments. And we'll discuss one point. Yeah, please.
Yeah, can you please explain about that start date and the end date?
It's very simple. This value should be available within what date range. That's all.
Okay. Okay.
If I give today date, this month end. So this finance department would be displayed for business users only for this time frame.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. After 30th, it won't be available. If you don't want to set this start date and end dates, what you can do is simply, you don't want to display this value for business users to record the transaction to the finance department. Just disable it. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Disable it. So that this value won't be displayed. They cannot record any transaction with this department.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And we discussed one point. After creating value set, you should not create the segment values. Right? That's what we discussed. We created value set, we created chart of accounts, we complete all this. After completing all these setups only, you have to create the values in the value sets. That's what we discussed. If you create values, if you try to create the values in the value set, the moment you create value set, what will happen? You can see. Let's create one for our testing. Let's create our one value set. Say XYZ. Company is the value set name. Application you can select as a general ledger. Independent. Character. Text. I created a value set. Now with this value set, I want to create the, within this, I want to create the values. Search. This is the value set. Click on manage values. Try to create. Do you find any difference? Do you find any difference?
Summary and all.
Yeah.
That means the value attributes are missing. That is the reason you have to complete all this. Means the value set should be assigned to any one of the segment where that chart of account structure is already deployed. For those value sets only, this value attribute system will display. Okay. So if you want to create the values in the value sets, you can create, but you cannot find value attributes. If no value attributes, there is no meaning for those values. That is the reason. So the value set you should use in any one of the chart of accounts. The chart of account should be deployed. Whenever the chart of account is deployed, in that chart of account, what are the value sets are created. For those value sets, it will display value attributes. So that's how it works. So we just completed values creation only for this two segments. Okay, for these two segment related value sets, we created values. The tomorrow session will see how to create the values for rest of segments also with the help of value sets. And by using this calendar currency chart of accounts, we have to create one new component. What is that? How it works? What are the other points we have to discuss? And if time permits, in tomorrow's session, we'll try to create the transactionals in the system to understand by using this calendar currency chart of account, how the transactions can be recorded. So any questions, can stay back. If no questions, that's all for today. We'll connect tomorrow same time. Please try to complete the practice so that upcoming sessions you will feel more comfortable. Any questions from anyone, please? No questions.